Today, I'm going to share the 5 quickest ways that you can change your identity. You're like, what? Quick change my identity? Hold on. We've been talking in this identity series about the fact that there is a belonging we sense we have. They are statements that we have in our minds about what we can and cannot do. We've had this since childhood, some people through upbringing, through incidences we may have had in our lives, or even just being in the community that surrounds us, right? People say, you are a reflection of the 5 people you most spend time with. Now, what if this identity that you hold doesn't serve you in the world of work? What if you're showing up as an African leader, as an African professional, and you find that there are labels, there are tags, there are voices in your head? And I'm not saying that you're psycho. I'm just saying that you may have heard so many times, or may have seen so many times, people like you, people like us, not doing something positive, something great, or doing something negative, something mediocre, and therefore attach it to your identity. So presented with opportunities in the global competitive world of work, we find that we tend to respond in certain ways that sabotage our success. So I want to give you the 5 steps today that will help you change your identity to become whosoever you choose to be. Now listen to this. I know for a fact that we are created on purpose for purpose. We are created by God. We come on this earth not to look for a job. We come on this earth because we have a job to do. There is an assignment that has your name on it. There is a problem, a whole problem, whether it is in your industry, whether it is in your community, in your nation, in this world, that has your name on it because you're the solution to it. But life has happened to us from the womb to when you and I meet on this broadcast. Life happens to us to tell us who you like you have you seen doing that? Where did you get the notion that somebody like you could ascend to the heights that you want to go to? So today I want to help you rediscover who you are. But the way we're going to approach it is for you to take 5 steps to choose who you want to become. And it's really just becoming the person you always created to be. And then start living out the reality of that person and not the person you've had labels and tags on ever since you were a kid. So the first step to this, if you want to change your identity, if you're saying, Modesta, the way that I have been thus far has not been serving me. I am watching myself respond to things, more like knee-jerk reactions to things that make me wonder, where did that come from? That didn't warrant that. Or I am watching myself procrastinate. I'm watching myself self-sabotage so that I don't take on more challenges, more opportunities, because deep down, truth is, I just don't think like somebody like me can get to a place like that. I don't believe in myself, and therefore I come up with all kinds of reasons, excuses, right? Why I shouldn't be there. If that is you, this is for you. So step number 1, I want you to ask yourself, who do I want to become? That's the first step you take. Not what do I want to do? Who do you want to become? Because we're talking about identity here. Because here's the thing, segue, side note, but listen to this. We get training for skills. We get experience on the job. Yet still, we find that our past speaks louder than any new information we just received, than any new skills that we have just taken up. So I'm not going to ask you necessarily about what kind of skills you want to attain, although getting skills is part of the story. I'm going to ask you instead what kind of person you want to become. Because then we can find out what skills you need to get there. But first of all, we're going to start with the mindset, and we're going to start with the habits and the disciplines of a person like that. Because when I was speaking to you in this series, and you can go back and watch the identity series, I spoke about the solve method, right? Of stopping to check, where are some of my responses coming from? Why am I self-sabotaging? Why don't I see the kind of success I would like to see, even with the degree that I have, even with the experience that I have, even with the exposure that I have? Why do I feel passed up for opportunities? I shared with you a method to stop observe yourself, and really get to the root of where does this come from. But today, I want you to then not only remove what you don't want in your identity that you feel no longer serves you in the global competitive world of work. I would like you to replace it with an identity that you know you deserve to have, with an identity you know is truly who you are, because you dream about it, because you long for it. You may not take the steps, but if anybody catches you and asks you, what are you thinking right now? Many a times you're thinking about that thing, but then another voice comes in and says, who, you? And then you leave it for a little bit. So the first thing you do when you want to ask yourself, take this first step to ask yourself, who do I want to become? Is to imagine. Now, I like to choose the oldest age I can think of, and that is 120 years. Imagine you're 120 years old, lying on a casket. People are going around. Guys, I had to project to 120, so you don't feel like I'm projecting death on you, much sooner. So 120, lying on a casket. People are going around. Somebody is reading your eulogy. What are they saying about you? What are they saying about your impact? What are they saying about your character? What are they saying about the legacy you have left? What are they saying about the lives you have changed? I want you to imagine somebody reading your eulogy at your funeral when you're 120 years old, lived a very good, full life. What are they saying? Because that will give you a clue. Whatever you write that they would be saying about you at 120, lying cold on that casket, gives you a hint of what you would like to become. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, what do people say, what do people say about me when I leave the room? And that is the person you want to become. Not what do people say about you right now? Because whatever you're doing, whoever you are right now, is something that's not serving you and you want to change it, right? So I want you to imagine this person you want to become. When you leave the room, what do people say about you? This is your personal brand. What are people saying you are? What is the image? What is the impression that they have of you? Because you can build that. You can build the image and impression. Whatever words you find yourself writing about you, whatever words you find yourself imagining, right? Positive words people would say about you, that shows a person you want to become. That shows the identity that you want to build, because you can actually rebuild your identity. You can choose to do away with the things that don't serve you and latch onto those that do. And the way to do it is to project way forward, to imagine when this life is done, what do I want to be remembered for? And also think of, okay, the person I do want to become, the person I do see myself becoming, what would people say about me when I leave the room? And then you come back to the present. Now I'm going to ask you, when you were thinking about that person that you would like to become, that person who people say positive things about when you leave the room, that person who then later in life leaves a kind of legacy and impact that you had written down when you're imagining that eulogy. The second thing, I want you to imagine the kind of characteristics this person has. That's the second step to getting to change your identity, to becoming whatever it is you want to, so that you can be more successful in the competitive global world of career and business. So what are the characteristics? I want you to think of the kind of mindsets this person has. What kind of I'm sure you're probably thinking, can do, they've got grit, they're tenacious, they go after things. So whatever the qualities, right, that you can imagine this person has in terms of mindset, write them down. I want you to think of what kind of habits. So I'm imagining you're thinking this person is probably an early riser, they're disciplined, they're a person of their word. They don't mind, when they have little or no information, they're still able to make decisions. They're a team player, whatever habits, they're a person that overlooks, things, when they're not done right, or whatever it is that you're imagining this person you want to become, the kind of habits that they have. I'd like you to write them down. Maybe they work out, maybe they eat well, maybe they're, so think through the habits. Then the third thing I want you to consider when you think of the characteristics of this person you'd like to become is community. What kind of people do they keep around them? What kind of communities are they part of? And I want you to imagine, from family, faith, recreationally, in the workplace, service in society, whether that's board positions or other positions and opportunities to serve. Think of as much as you can. Right now, you're just doing a brain dump, right? You're just writing out absolutely everything you can think of that this person would have as a characteristic in terms of the community that they keep around them. What about pursuits? What kind of things do they do? Are they an entrepreneur? Are they a corporate executive? Are they, a chairperson of some significant board in your industry, in your country, in your region, globally? Are they, what kind of sports do they do? Do they have investments? Do they also, do they run a nonprofit? Think of the pursuits of the person that you want to become. And I'm sure you can already think of the kinds of people that are already like that and write that down. And what about the way they speak and the way they hold themselves? What kind of words, what kind of action, what kind of body language? How do they speak? I recently had an experience, amazing experience. I was recently certified as a Joseph Business School trainer. And my experience during that certification program was absolutely world class. I met with the faculty, and remember, these are COVID times, so everything was virtual, but I noticed a consistency. So many different people that we met, the way first of all, when they show up, what they look like, their faces, how they're groomed, their hair, men and women, their outfits, when they spoke, the tone of voice, the speed, the language they chose, the intonation, the pauses. I mean, they were so poised. You couldn't help but notice this. Everybody without exception. When they presented absolutely everything about them. And then the third day in, we heard the president of the Joseph Business School, she mentioned that was deliberate. That they needed to look like what they were showing the trainers that were coming in to teach the Joseph Business School students, but also the students, a picture of what they aspire to be. So who do you want to become? What kind of words, what kind of actions, what kind of way do you carry yourself? And you're actually thinking about the person that you want to become. What words do you use? What actions, how do you act? How do you carry yourself? And these are brainstorms that you're doing to write down a couple of things that you can adopt to become the person you want to become. What's the dress code? What's the dress code of the person that you want to become? Maybe it's very different from where you are right now. Now, people, I'm not telling you to break the bank to be anything different than you are, but I am saying that it is key for you to start thinking like the person you want to become if you want to change your identity into a positive identity of this person who can succeed in the globally competitive world of work. What kind of dress code do they have? And you can inexpensively start switching things in your wardrobe. I recently heard somebody else say something astounded me. She paid someone to come into her own wardrobe and match certain pieces together. She took pictures of them so that she can then replicate it, right? When she's ready, she can do those outfits. So you probably don't even have to go somewhere new. You can just go into exactly what you have and look at ways to so present it that you start reflecting the identity of the person you want to become. Then I'm going to ask you, right? So you've imagined who you want to become. You've imagined the qualities, the characteristics of this person you want to become. I want to now ask you, what do you think are the 3 to 5 key steps that you can take to become that person? The major steps, not the itsy-bitsy steps. We'll get to that. What do you think are 3 to 5 major steps that you will need to take to become that person? Write them down. You might think of going back to school. You might think of changing friendships. You might think of, learning more. So making time to get on YouTube, making time to go on webinars, making time to get coaches, to get mentors. Think of 3 to 5 steps that'll help you become the person you want to become. And then I'm going to ask you, what is the first step? That's number 4 for me. What is the first step then that you need to take So for instance, if I need to go back to school for the first step to become the person I need to become, which actually is what I need to do to become the person that I need to become, is to go back to school, then I want you to think of that first step. Just stick to the first step for now. Think of that first step and ask yourself, what are the 3 to 5 steps that I need to take to be able to reach the first step? Whether that's going to be saving money for it, whether that's going to be researching institutions that you can go to, whether that's going to be applying for funding, whether that's going to be, applying to the institutions, getting your references. You're going to have 3 to 5 steps that you need to take to be able to get on the first step, right? Start with the first step to becoming the person you want to become. I would recommend go to YouTube, go to Google. These are both search engines, and you can search the keywords that you've written down on the person that you want to become. You can search as you search, it might even give you some people. I remember there's a time I wanted to think and I wanted to present myself more like a certain class of people, literally people. What I'm saying to you, I do it too, right? Because I too come laden with things from the past that will probably tell me, look, you're this way, you're that way, and you're not this. So I need to override those thoughts and I need to get over those emotions. And the best way to do that is to supplement, or to replace them rather, with the things that I do want to become. And so I started researching, right? I went online and I was searching the people who are that thing that I want to be. And I was watching videos. I was just watching videos of these people and their lifestyle. Because the thing is, we can get to the world of work and we all kind of look, the right thing, we say the right things and we look a certain way. But the battle is in our minds. We are fighting in our own minds voices that are telling us that we are less, that we cannot. So I wanted to see the lifestyle. I wanted to see the families. I wanted to start thinking like what I want to become. I won't be them. I'm going to be me and who God called me to be. But I wanted to start thinking like those winners, those leaders, those influencers, right? So you can do the same thing. Get online, start researching with keywords who you want to become, the community that you mentioned that they're part of, the pursuits that you mentioned, the characteristics, the actions, the words. Start looking at those that look like what you want to become look like and how they conduct themselves. And I would like to recommend this. Now, there are 4 books I'd recommend. One of them I don't have here. I actually left it in my country. I'm probably going to get another one. These books are going to help you when you're thinking of changing your mindset, because it starts with the mind. When you're thinking of changing words and actions, it's easy to say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that anymore. But if something you've been doing for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, I don't know how old you are, years, that's your default mechanism. That's where you default to. You get a certain trigger, your default is to react a certain way. The only way you're going to override your default setting is to find a way to deprogram that and reprogram yourself to something different. One of the best books that I have seen on reprogramming is Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. This book has been amazing. My husband and I went through this program, and it tells you that your brain actually has neuroplasticity. It means that it can always stretch. Your mind can always change. Whoever you have been, you can choose to replace, you can choose to become somebody and even change that too. It takes 2 sessions of 63 days for you to do that. But just the understanding that what I think goes and creates like physical matter. It creates pathways in your brain such that any other thought that comes just falls into that pathway. It's like a river bed, that's drawn out a path for itself. That's what we have going. So whatever we have been thinking over decades, we are predisposed to think that way. We're predisposed to speak that way, predisposed to act that way. The only way to stop decades of conditioning is to reprogram yourself, and you can actually reprogram your mind. So I would recommend, and I'm going to put a link to this that you get Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. Another book that I think is amazing, and I've had this for, I don't know, 10 or so years, is Mindset by another doctor, Carol Dweck. And this book says, look, the people with a fixed mindset, they're like, look, I am how I am. This is how I showed up. This is how I am. This is how my dad's been. This is what my past, our entire clan, right? Fixed mindset, like, it's conditioning. You said it yourself, Modesta. Nothing you can do. And then there's a growth mindset that says, what does it take? What does it take? Yes, I know what I came from. I know the identity of my past. I know that, as Africans or as Black people or as people who came from the economic situation that we came from, or as, whatever it is, I know we're meant to be, or maybe as women, I know we're told we're meant to be this way, but what does it actually take? Those are people with a growth mindset. And so it tells you how to develop a growth mindset. If you're interested in that, if you're thinking, you know what, I make a lot of excuses for why I'm not moving in life, but the truth is, there are a bunch of things I'm saying to myself in my mind, and that's why I'm not getting there. Get Mindset. That's the new Psychology of Success by Dr. Carol Dweck. Another amazing book. This has been like my latest amazing, guys. I love reading books. And if you go to modesta.africa, you see that we have a bookstore, a bunch of books. These are the books that have absolutely changed my life. I would recommend every single one of them. Another one is Atomic Habits by James Clare. This is going to help you in your 24 hours every single day. Atomic Habits is going to help you create the habits that will ground the transformation that you want to make. You want to change your identity. There's a piece for the mindset, right? Then that's where Dr. Caroline Leaf's book, Switch on Your Brain, right? And Dr. Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, the new Psychology of Success, will help you. But Atomic Habits by James Clear actually shows you how to daily create habits that'll help you become the person you want to become. Take on the identity of the person you want to become. And a fourth book, which blew my mind, I actually thought it was impossible, is The Battlefield of the Mind. Oh my goodness, by Joyce Meyer. What am I saying? By Joyce Meyer. She says that you don't have to adopt any thought that comes to your head. You can actually remove a thought. And I was just thinking, how do I remove thoughts? Thoughts come, they do what they do, but apparently you can. You can capture thoughts. And not only do you want to remove them, she talks about how you can replace them with the truth of who God created you to be, so that you can daily win the battle of the mind. Because when there's no enemy within, no enemy without can do anything to you. So if you are at a place where you're thinking, honestly, there is more to me. I can do more, I can be more, I can have greater impact, but I realize that I just haven't seen anybody from my context doing this. I realize that growing up, I was told I had these limitations. So I thought we did because even my parents and my siblings in our community were like that. So I don't really see at this present time how this could be a reality for me. Get these books that are going to speak to you about your mindset. Get these books that are going to help you build new habits, and follow the 5 steps that I just shared with you. First of all, to ask yourself, who do I want to become? And project forward on who that person is, what their accomplishments are, what kind of pursuits they have, what kind of community around them, what kind of legacy have they left, what kind of impact. Then you're going to come back and say, okay, so, what then do I need? What kind of steps do I need to take to be able to get there? The first step that you see, the first step you want to start with, ask yourself, what are the 3 to 5 steps I need to take to get there? Then start applying that. You can search online on the things to do, habits to form. I mean, I've shared books with you, right? You can search online and see the mindsets, the achievements, the lifestyles. I'm not asking you guys to do petty, frivolous things. I'm asking you to reclaim who you were born to be, which was stolen from you through life and conditioning and limitations that many of us go through, so that you can be on the front end of determining your success and your life and your impact in this world. And the way to do that is not to push back when people say things and we are touchy, because we get touchy. As Black people, as African people, as women, we do. Because we've faced oppression and discrimination for such a long time. But how then do you flip that script? How do you change the narrative? You choose to get to the front end of that, of choosing who you want to become, how people will treat you, how you will conduct yourself, and what kind of heights you want to reach. And today I've shared with you the steps you can take to change your identity and become successful in this globally competitive world of work, and some resources that you can start engaging with today to start you on that path. This next year has to be different, guys. It has to be different. My country just turned, how old did my country just turn? My country just turned, is it 59 years old? What am I working with here right now? Yeah, 59 years old, right? And I know somebody's gonna be like, well, Tanganyika, not Tanzania. All right. So Tanganyika just turned 59 years old. And I was just thinking, the generation that we're in right now, and even my children, right? We can't really say that all this time we're being held back by colonialism or slavery or even socialism, for me in my context of where I come from. It's about time we started making decisions for ourselves on who we want to be, how we want the world to engage with us, and setting goals that may scare us at first because just nobody in our context would have reached, but setting them and then following up with the strategies that will actually get us there. I cannot look my kids in the eye and tell them the reason why I haven't been able to achieve what I want to go for in life is because of my upbringing or it's because of my historical context. It has a bearing. I mean, this is why we have this identity series, right? We're getting over these things, but we cannot allow these things to hold us back. And so I'm inviting you through this identity series to really interrogate what identity you're holding and choose to let go of anything, shed off anything that doesn't serve you to become the globally competitive African leader that I know you are. And then learn then, get the principles, the strategies, the tools, get the mentors, get the coaches, subscribe to Modesta.Africa TV. Actually, please do. And learn, journey with me to become that globally competitive African leader that I know you are. I'm on a quest to equip 100 million global African leaders because I believe Africa is going to be the leading economic region in the world. And I'm equipping the men and women that will drive that ascent. I am pulling on my end, guys. Push yourself on yours. Choose who you want to become. Learn the skills, learn the strategies, fight the limiting thoughts, the negative patterns, and become the person God created you to be. I need you to do that. Our generation needs you to do that. You and your family need you to do that. Where Africa is going needs you to do that. And I pray that you will actually answer this call and you will do the work. And I look forward to hearing of your progress and hearing of your impact. So, question for today. What one thing are you going to do to change the identity you don't want and take on the one that you do? Hit me up on the comment and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.